Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining today's webinar for the Healthy Aging Challenge. We're really excited to have you and excited for a good hour of learning a bit more about the Healthy Aging Challenge. My name is Jenny Adams. I work for an organization called CARET and the agency that is supporting the Hillman Foundation for this challenge. A quick few notes before we jump in. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the News and Updates page of the challenge website later this week. We will also email it to those who have registered for the challenge. A couple of quick housekeeping items. Please do keep yourself muted throughout the duration of the webinar. If you have questions or comments, you can enter them in the questions box that you should see through the GoToWebinar interface. We will definitely get to as many questions as we can a little bit later. We've reserved the majority of the time for the Q&A portion of the webinar. First, though, in just a few moments, I will hand things over to Lisa Johns, Vice President of Finance and Senior Program Officer at the Hillman Foundation, who will welcome you and provide a brief overview of the Healthy Aging Challenge. After that, I will do a quick walkthrough of the challenge website with my colleague Ethan Matthews. Then my colleague Taylor Rowell will help open it up for questions. As I said, as your questions come up, please do type them into the questions box, and we'll get to as many as we can in the time that we have. Before we do jump in, a couple of very important reminders to keep in mind. If you have not already, the deadline to register for the Healthy Aging Challenge is 4 weeks from today. The deadline is Tuesday, April 12th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Eastern. Please note that you must register in order to submit an application. We will also be hosting a second webinar, a pre-application webinar in mid-April, and that will be for those who have completed that registration. So you'll hear me say it many times during this webinar. If you have not already, please do register on the website. Now, with that, I am very pleased to virtually turn things over to Lisa Johns from the Hillman Foundation.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you all for joining us today to learn more about the Healthy Aging Challenge. We appreciate your time and interest and hope that you get all of your questions answered in this hour. Before I begin with some background information, my colleague Lori Fink is also a panelist on this webinar. The two of us are co-leading this work at the Foundation. For those of you who may not know us, the Henry L. Hillman Foundation is one of 18 foundations associated with the Hillman family here in Pittsburgh. All of the foundations are managed by the Hillman Family Foundations. The Henry L. Hillman Foundation is the largest in terms of asset size and makes grants totaling about $75 million annually. The mission of the foundation is to improve the quality of life here in southwestern Pennsylvania. Back in 2020, which now feels like another lifetime ago, the foundation engaged in a process to update its strategic priorities. Our approach to this work included interviewing hundreds of individuals, key stakeholders, and experts across the broad categories of human services, education and workforce, energy and the environment, health and medicine, and arts and culture. When we ask questions during the interview, and questions as if, what are the biggest challenges or opportunities you see for the region? Or sometimes we would phrase it as, what keeps you up at night? We heard aging repeatedly across all of these broad categories. Those conversations, combined with research and demographic studies, led the foundation to developing an Aging Well portfolio. We are taking a strength-based approach to this work, knowing that promoting healthy aging doesn't just impact older adults. What is good for older adults is also good for all generations. Since this is a new focus area for us, we believe that launching this challenge will generate some excitement around aging, may unearth some interesting ideas, and spark collaboration among organizations and individuals. As a reminder, we'll be selecting 4 projects and we'll be awarding each project $500,000. As detailed on the Healthy Aging Challenge website, we're looking for projects that are transformative, scalable, equitable, and feasible. The challenge is really broad, and that's intentional. The areas of focus for the challenge align almost perfectly with what the Foundation's strategic priorities are in the Aging Well portfolio. This is not the first time we've engaged in a challenge with the CARET team. We did a similar process back in 2019 called the Healthy Allegheny Challenge. It was very successful and has really helped to scale the community health worker model across the region. And we're hoping for great results from this challenge as well. I can turn it back over to the CARET team now. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lisa. I will now provide a brief overview of the website and the process, starting with how to register. Many of you probably already have registered, but just in case, anyone that needs to know how, registration is required and is very simple. You can go to the upper right-hand corner of any page on the website and click on the button that counts down the numbers of days to register. You'll then be instructed to create and confirm your account. And after that, you will be prompted to submit basic information about your organization so that we can better understand your registrant community. Please note that as you've completed your registration, you will not receive email confirmation of your registration. You'll know you've successfully registered if you're able to log in and access the online application and forums on the platform. If you have any further questions about registration or to confirm that you have, or if you need any assistance at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at questions@healthyagingchallenge.org, and we can definitely assist you if you need it. So really overall, our challenges are rooted in the values of openness, transparency, and fairness. Those three things are very important and are really shown throughout the way that we design our challenges. We want to make sure that anyone who registers and applies for this opportunity knows exactly what we expect from them. We're really clear and transparent and upfront about that. What is expected of you, when and how you're going to be scored, and who will be evaluating your proposals. So this website is built as an instructional guide to understand that process. The first place to start, if you want to understand what is expected, is the Healthy Aging Challenge application. So we very happily present the whole text, the full text of the application is available up front to any visitor to this website. You can see all the questions, the prompts, the requirements, the word count limits. And as you can see here on the screen, the application has several sections. So you are encouraged to read all of them up front, so you have a good grasp of what is required of you in order to submit a competitive application. Once you've done that and understand what is required of you, you'll of course want to know how your application will be evaluated. So on this website, we have under scoring process here on the menu, a scoring rubric, and this is very important. You'll hear us mention it multiple times. It's really the best way to understand how to complete an application that will potentially score well. This scoring rubric will be used during the peer-to-peer review process as well as the evaluation panel. 4 criteria already mentioned, but also on the screen are transformative, feasible, equitable, and scalable. And each of these criteria consists of a prompt that details what each of these traits mean in the context. And each trait will be given a score between 0 and 5. As you can see, Ethan is toggling back and forth on the screen here. We encourage you to visit the website and do the same. You can toggle back and forth here and see as the score changes, the definition, it changes as well. So you can see what scoring between a 1 and a 2 would be versus a 4 and a 5, et cetera, et cetera. And this rubric defines what makes a strong proposal, and we really do encourage you to familiarize yourself with it. So now you know what is required in an application, how you will be scored. The next question is who will be doing the scoring. This brings us to the actual scoring process. Following the application deadline, all eligible submissions move into evaluation panel review. So on the evaluation tab here on the website, you can see the list of confirmed expert review panel members on our website. Not only will you receive feedback and scores on your submission from 5 of these individuals, but you'll get written feedback. So not just numeric, but also written. And they're required to provide comments to justify each of your numeric scores and also provide an overall impression of each application. And really, we find this to be one of the most important aspects of participating in our challenges for the applicants is this feedback. Even if you're not selected as an awardee, you walk away with valuable feedback that you can use in the future to help refine your solutions and perhaps even use it to seek other funding or expanded support in the future. You can also click in at each of these pictures of the judges, read a short bio about them so you can see exactly who will be reviewing your proposals. Next question that is often asked is, how do we ensure that this process is fair? And to address this question, we have a web page dedicated specifically to explaining how we normalize our scores. It's right here on the screen, fairness, and if you have any other questions about this, please send in a question and we're happy to help you understand it better. So every application will be scored by 5 members of the evaluation panel. So obviously that means that not every applicant will look at, or not every judge will look at every application. To make sure that you're not disadvantaged, if by chance you are assigned to a quote unquote hard grader and another applicant was reviewed by someone who is a little more lenient, all scores are rescaled and normalized. So we won't go into great depth into the math on the screen, but know that it is all explained there. And, again, feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have about this process. A few other items real quick before we jump into the question and answer portion. A couple other pages on here we want to point out is the rules page. So we are also very transparent about the rules. You can read about the legal stipulations governing your participation. You can find out about the eligibility criteria and learn more about the detailed terms and conditions. We encourage everyone to look through this. And again, any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And finally, we want to point out the timeline that we have on the website. This is really helpful to understand the process and where we are in the timeline. As I've mentioned before, the registration deadline is Tuesday, April 12th at 5:00 p.m. Eastern. You must register in order to participate. And then if we keep going through the timeline, you'll see the submission deadline is Tuesday, May 10th. And then the timeline continues to call out other key dates related to the challenge, our administrative review period, then when the judging period occurs. So again, we highly encourage you to review that just to understand what the timing is in regard to your participation over the next few months in the Healthy Aging Challenge. Okay, I think, again, if you have not visited the website, we highly encourage you to look through all the pages we just called out, as well as any other information that is shown on the website. I think now we are ready to jump into the Q&A portion of our webinar. If you have not already and you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the questions box now, and we'll get started with a few. I will now hand things over to my colleague, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. The first question, what types of projects are you looking for?
Yes, this is definitely a popular question. And really, we are looking to support projects that meet those 4 criteria that we talked about: transformative, feasible, equitable, and scalable. And those projects can be sufficiently implemented to show some evidence of results within a 12-month period. We also do have a few categories here. Projects may center on, but are not limited to, the following focus areas. These are also on the website. So age-friendly community development, including aging in place, age-friendly economic development, civic participation and volunteerism for older adults, intergenerational programming, reducing ageism and social isolation, skill building and employment for professional caregivers, technology for caregivers, technology for older adults. So teams may propose to address multiple focus areas or propose your own, and just please provide that those categories meet the criteria laid out in the scoring rubric.
Great. Next question. Can an organization submit more than one proposal?
No, eligible organizations may only submit one application each. However, you may serve as a partner on another organization's proposal, and there is no limit to the number of applications in which an organization may serve as a partner, provided the proposed projects are distinct and separate, and there is no overlap between the key team members.
Great. How many proposals will receive grant funds?
Yep, I think Lisa mentioned this earlier, but 4 awardees will be selected, and each of those 4 awardees will receive a $500,000 grant and become part of a year-long learning cohort.
Will you consider funding a solution in the early pilot stages?
Early stage projects will be considered, provided that they, A, meet the criteria laid out in the scoring rubric, and B, can realistically be implemented with some evidence of results within 12 months of funding. Per the scoring rubric, successful proposals will make that balance between ambition and feasibility. And formal studies validating the proposed approach are not required, but teams will need to clearly and persuasively articulate why they are confident their project will work. Formal or informal studies, observations, and other indicators of change as defined by the impacted communities are welcome, as are references to external sources.
Great. How can we use the funds?
Yes, funds can be used for the solution described in your application. So it's definitely very broad, but there are a few categories in which they may not be used for. So please do note, funds cannot be used for lobbying, for creating an endowment, for indirect costs. However, overhead is allowed at up to 15% of the total project budget. And also please note, conferences, networking events, and convenings generally should not exceed 5% of the total project budget. Additional allowance may be made if the convenings are a critical component of the project.
Who can participate?
Yep, another very important question. We are welcoming applications from organizations that are recognized as 501c3s, 509A1 or 2. And these organizations must be based in the United States or its territories and serve communities in the United States or its territories. We often get questions kind of surrounding those eligibility requirements. So just a couple more quick notes there. If you're an individual, an organization that does not have 501c3 or 509A1 or 2 status, or are a private foundation, you're not eligible to be the lead organization. However, you may serve as a partner on an application submitted by an eligible entity.
Great. My organization is not located in southwestern Pennsylvania. Can I still apply?
Yes, organizations from across the United States may apply. However, it is a requirement that the project that you are proposing in your application, it must be based in southwestern Pennsylvania. And this includes Allegheny, Armstrong, Beaver, Butler, Fayette, Greene, Indiana, Lawrence, Washington, and Westmoreland counties. And those are also listed on the website if you need to review those again.
Can an organization use a fiscal sponsor?
Yes, fiscal sponsors may participate and submit an application to the Healthy Aging Challenge.
Great. Must the grant funds be used in a specific time frame?
No, we do not require the grant funds to be spent in a specific number of years. However, we will ask that you show meaningful progress and evidence of results in the first 12 months.
Great. What are the expectations for sustainability beyond the funding period?
Yeah, Lisa, I don't know if you want to start there?
Sure, I can, and maybe Lori can also chime in too. So I think we run into this all the time, right? Even with the community health worker model, the end goal for that project is to have it be reimbursable by insurance, but it's not there yet. And I think we're so committed to the model that we'll continue to support it, knowing that there is an opportunity to have reimbursement. But sustainability is always on our mind. And I think ideas of sustainability would probably be good enough at this point, even if that includes like fundraising.
Lisa, I think you answered that perfectly.
Great, thank you guys. Next question. Can the project serve community members from other areas virtually in addition to the counties mentioned?
So I guess this is asking, yes, so virtually. So if the county is a local project, but I guess if it can expand further virtually, is that something that would be okay, Lisa?
This is Laura.
Go ahead, Lori.
I was just going to say, yes, we're fine with that. I mean, I think we're focused on it not just being in, it doesn't have to be in just one county in southwestern Pennsylvania. So we recognize that it's particularly in light of the pandemic and the way we've all become used to doing some of these things, being creative about how you expand and serve larger populations is a good thing.
And Jenny, that is all we have for questions at the moment. So if there are any additional ones, please feel free to keep typing them in the questions box.
So I do think there was one piece that wasn't mentioned maybe when we were going through all of the pieces of the challenge, and that was the peer-to-peer review section. Did I miss that when you covered that?
No, we can definitely go over that a bit more. I think typically we cover it in the next webinar, but we can definitely go over it now as well. Ethan, do you mind going to the evaluation page and we can look over the peer-to-peer review? No, great. So yeah, so I guess it is very important to also understand, so after you submit your application, and we do an administrative review process, if your application is deemed eligible, and then you will enter into a peer-to-peer review process. That means that you will be responsible for reviewing up to 5 other applications. Use the same trait scoring rubric as the evaluation panel, using transformative, feasible, equitable, and scalable. And just like the evaluation panel, these scores will be normalized for fairness. And yeah, you'll be asked to score both numerically and leave qualitative feedback, written comments on the applications that you review. We've historically heard wonderful things from our participants about this peer-to-peer review process. It really gives an opportunity to be really engaged, to see what other ideas are out there. And oftentimes it's really been kind of building community as well. The value is, again, not just receiving the grant funds, but also learning and seeing what other collaborations might be out there. So we're happy to answer any questions you have about the peer-to-peer review process, but it is a requirement of participation. So if you submit an application, it is required to complete that peer-to-peer review process as well.
We did have another question come in the meantime. So what is meant by a learning cohort, and what would the expectations be for that?
I can jump in on that one. Since the Hillman Foundations are sort of new to the aging realm, what we're looking really to do after the awards are made is to have the 4 winners come together a couple times over the following year. We were thinking quarterly so that we could be talking about challenges each is seeing, things they're learning, possible collaborations, maybe keeping everybody on the same page. And by virtue of those meetings, Lisa and I would be learning an awful lot that would carry forward in our aging grant making for probably many, many years to come. It's not intended to be onerous in any way.
Okay, Again, we're at the end of questions, Jenny.
Great, yeah, we'll definitely give it a few more minutes. If anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and enter them in the questions box. Lisa, Lori, I don't know if there's any other topic you want me to expand upon. We can definitely revisit any page on the website as well.
We did just have another one come in, so chime in with another question as well. So could you please talk about the required involvement of seniors in the planning and implementation of the project?
I'm happy, this is Laurie, to jump in on that one. I think this kind of goes to the phrase, nothing about us without us, that we hear about a lot. So if you're doing a project that's focused on seniors or focused on caregivers, it seems reasonable that there should be a senior person on your team or a caregiver, somebody with lived and practical experience, so that we're making sure that we're not doing another phrase I hate, if we build it, they will come, when we've never actually asked them.
Great, thank you. And again, Jenny, back to you at this point.
Yes, yeah, if anyone would like any more expanded information on anything we've touched upon, please enter that question or comment in the questions box.
We had one more. Is it possible to know who else is interested in participating in the challenge?
I can just touch upon the forums that we have on the website for those that have registered, and then yeah, Lisa and Lori, feel free to speak to anything else. But once you have registered, we do have a backend system forums where you can connect with other registrants in the system. You can post questions, comments. It's a really great tool for interacting with those also interested in the Healthy Aging Challenge. Prior to registration, from the CARET perspective, we don't really have too much to suggest. I don't know, Lori, Lisa, if there's anything else from a Hillman perspective that might prompt kind of that collaboration or communication.
I honestly haven't given that any thought, like as far as pre-award. Have you, Laurie?
No, not specifically with the challenge, though I think people who are involved in the Southwestern Pennsylvania Partnership for Aging or Healthy, Age-Friendly Pittsburgh, those kinds of networks, I think they have been talking among themselves, and so there would be ways outside of the challenge for you to find partners.
Back to you, Jenny.
Great. Yeah, just another comment about those forums. You know, it's once you've completed registration, again, it is a really great tool to be able to see who else is out there and can definitely spark that conversation. And so, yeah, I mean, we've touched upon this before, but our perspective is fairness, openness, and transparency. And part of that is just building the community of those that are interested in the same topics or working within organizations that are working on the same things you are. So between the peer-to-peer review process and the forums that we have on the back end of the website, we really do hope that participating in the Healthy Aging Challenge kind of garners that sense of community and understanding that there are others out there that have the same passions and working in the same areas as you. So we do encourage to register and check out those forums. And you never know, we might meet someone, connect with someone that you're not only able to partner with for this, but build a larger collaboration down the road. So it's definitely something we pride ourselves in offering and hope that it's valuable to all of you as well.
One more question for you guys, it looks like. Is there a lower age limit for service? Sorry, lowest age limit.
Crickets. I think we did talk about this at one point. Lisa, do you have a recollection? I think we were initially thinking that we would kind of define it as it seems to be defined like by ARP and
or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, so like 50 and above.
Yeah, we did grapple with that. I think we're all aging, so what does an older adult mean? But yes, I think we went with the ARP definition. These are all really great questions. We appreciate everybody's time and questions. Gives us some more things to think about.
Great, that is it for questions at the moment.
So we can just wait a few more minutes to see if anyone has anything else. And just a note too, I've said this many times, I know, but once you register before that deadline on April 12th, you can then get started on your application on the back end of the system as soon as you complete registration. So you definitely don't have to wait until April 12th in order to start that. So sooner you register, sooner you can get started on that application. Again, our next webinar, the pre-submission webinar in mid-April, right after the deadline, will provide more details on the application, but it's a very great interface, auto saves as you work through it. So just know that, yeah, you can jump in and get started whenever you're ready. And that submission deadline will be May 10th. So you've still got a bit of time, but we do encourage you not to wait until the last minute to register or to get started on that application.
And one more request that just came in. Can you please show where the forum information is again?
Yes, definitely. Ethan, if you could just show, so once you registered and you're in the back end, you see your dashboard here. You'll see up in the upper right corner, the menu, you'll see forums. You can click on that, and that will take you to an interface where you can see what other people have posted. Right now, our team has posted some FAQs back there, so it's also helpful just tool to get more information. But you can see, the drop down here with categories. Ours are marked as FAQ, general, help. You can report a problem. So yeah, it's a really great tool to be able to post a question to others, comment, whatever you might want, and engage in discussion with fellow registrants.
Question about registration. Can you add more than one person to access the account for your organization?
A very popular question. We get it frequently, and unfortunately the answer is no. You'll just have to share the login information. It's only one login per registrant.
And that looks like all for the moment.
Great. Yeah, we'll wait a couple more. I know they've been trickling in, which is great. Like Lisa said, these are excellent questions, and we really appreciate your thorough thought of what might go into this application and learning all that you can about it. So we are very happy to offer this webinar and answer any questions you have. And of course, if you think of something later too, you can always use our questions email, which I'll repeat in a moment. But yeah, this is not the only opportunity to ask us questions. Okay, think if everyone is done asking questions, we can start wrapping it up here. But again, if you think of anything, please continue to enter them. But yeah, we'll go ahead with some closing remarks here. Once again, if you have not already registered, please do so as soon as you can. That deadline is in 4 weeks on Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. At 5 p.m. Eastern. You must register in order to submit an application. Once you complete that registration, you can get started on your application. This webinar is recorded, and we will provide the recording. It'll be posted on the news and updates page on this website on the front end, as well as emailed out to all registrants. So you can definitely listen to it or view it again if you need to. And we'll post it on the forums as well. So be available in multiple locations. If you have any other questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at questions@healthyagingchallenge.org. We will definitely get back to you as quickly as we can. And really, we are so appreciative of all of your time and effort, time on this webinar and time that you'll put into participating. We definitely know that it's time, it takes time and effort to fill out an application, to go through the peer-to-peer review process. And we are just so excited to have your interest and hopeful participation. And we look forward to, answering questions that you may have, supporting you throughout this process. And, really excited about the Healthy Aging Challenge as a whole and all of you. So thank you so much for your interest, for attending this webinar. And Lisa or Lori, I don't know if you have any final closing remarks before we wrap up.
I'll just say a quick thanks too, and please register. Lori and I are really excited about this challenge and of all the possibilities that might come out of it and all of your great ideas that could be really transformative for the region. So thanks again.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, we look forward to your participation. Thank you.